Evening, everyone. Just thought I'd get on here for a second. Sometimes if it's easier to do a live stream than record a video and then have to restart it, or go through the process of narrating it, editing the audio, and then trying to do the imagery. But I got a question from a subscriber, and he was wondering, or she, I actually don't know. We gotta be gender neutral, maybe, or with Trump not. He asked if I do any side work, essentially from customers that come into the auto store. And I know there are a few guys there that will, well, within the company that do it, who were mechanics or know how to do it. And the reality is, I don't really accept those jobs anymore. Even when I was a tech, I just really didn't like accepting side work anyway. And the number one reason is that if someone is being very cheap and they want you to fix their car outside of a repair shop, to save money, which I totally understand. And there's obviously mobile mechanics and stuff. I always feel like those people, they usually have a lot more things wrong with their car than whatever the problem is they need immediately fixed. And also, when you start taking a poll that has potentially more issues, it's harder to back together. You should have just not even touched the vehicle. So that's why I don't accept side work anymore. It's just too much of a pain for too much effort. And it just doesn't really make any sense, because like the amount of time that I could just be doing something else versus trying to get this car back together is insane. I actually remember a specific instance where I was trying to get a ball joint out of a control arm, and this was like, I don't know, this was like 8 or 10 years ago, and I was a fairly new tech, and they were just moving me up to do more suspension stuff, and the ball joint in this thing, I mean, it's just rusted for some reason all around the end of the control arm, in the hole where the ball joint was. So when I popped it out, like part of the control arm just disintegrated. They got another guy to come over to look at it, to be like, oh, can we like just weld part of this back together? And I was like, yeah, no, it's that wasn't going to happen. So we needed a new control arm. So there's things like that happen, where if you're in a repair shop with people with other tools, or you have other support systems, fixing those types of issues is a little easier. When you're on your own and you're trying to do simple jobs, sometimes it can get more complicated than what you bargained for, like that ball joint. If something like a starter, generally that's pretty easy. Like on some Toyotas, like on mine, the starter is actually on top of the engine, which is really, really convenient to do rather than getting under the vehicle. But there's some starter motors which are pretty easy. So that's something that I have done on the side. Other things I've done on the side are like quick struts, or maybe like a head gasket. Those aren't too difficult, but anything else where it's like taking apart an engine in a serious way, or any sort of electronic stuff, yeah, you either need scan tools or expensive equipment. It doesn't make sense for you to go out and do that as side work. Now, I would be interested to hear what you guys' opinions, though, about it are. If you've worked at a repair shop, like, have you accepted a bunch of done a lot of, mechanical jobs on the side, made decent money doing it? Is that something that you do a lot? Have you run into problems doing it before? Because a lot of mechanics I've talked with, some are just like really good at handling those problems because they have more experience. But even if you have a lot of experience, I mean, I've heard just some horror stories of people where they say, yeah, like, we just couldn't figure out how to do this job, even with all the right tools. So yeah, that's something that I just don't really do anymore. I mean, I appreciate my free time, and in my free time, I have some other YouTube channels, other content creation stuff that I'm working on, not just this channel. I am trying to devote a little more time So, but anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts about doing mechanical side work. If there's any other questions in the chat, let me see. How long ago did you work in a shop? It's a good question. It's been quite a number of years. I always thought I would go back to it at some point, and I guess I have. I'm thinking maybe getting my ACs again and working as a tech possibly, but so we'll see how that goes. So what are the plans for the channel going forward? That's a good question. The plans for the channel going forward are I actually might talk with a few friends about partnering on it, because I feel like my technical knowledge, I guess out of a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, I would honestly put it at maybe like a